Okay, guys, we are back. We are going to do the second part of Archery Elk in Arizona, the draw, and what choices would be best, in my opinion, or just the options. What I'm here to talk about, guys, is not like where I guide or where I think is the best units, because that's where I guide. That's not really what I'm doing here. I just want to inform and just give a professional's opinion on what I see year in and year out, and just kind of what to expect. Because when you read magazines like Hunting Fool and other publications, Go Hunt, Epic, they give you a real brief little snippet of information, and it all kinds of sounds the same, like hot unit, 350 plus bullet. You don't really know anything else besides that. So I just try to give an honest look and kind of, have an honest, rundown of some of the units and some of the options. So, and we know the draw odds, they'll differ from year to year. So it's not guaranteed, it's always kind of a baseline of actual draw odds. So today we're going to talk about the next tier of Arizona bonus point holders that are seeking archery hunts. So we're going to look at that. Last week we did 0 to 5 points. Now we're going to do that 5+ points. So most guys that are hunting Arizona and trying to draw an archery elk tag, not just putting it for bonus points, are in this category. They're like that 5 to 15 point range, and most of them are in that 5 to 10 points. I'm holding this knife right now. I'm playing with it because it's awesome. I actually had a client just give this to me. It's a Benchmade. I forget, it was Steep Hunter or something like that. It's pretty legit. So, not to distract, but thank you, Matt and Nikki, husband-wife team that just came out and hunted with us. Gave me an awesome, just for the heck of it. So anyway, oh, and I have this Rocky Mountain elk hunting call. It's pretty sweet. That we're talking about archery elk hunting, so it's getting me going and get my kind of calls out and kind of reminisce of archery elk hunting. Okay, so if you're in this category, you're like in that 5 to, I'm going to say like 12 points, really, because when you're in that 15-point range, you could probably draw a couple tags. Okay, so let's talk about best options on the lower end of that 5 to 15 points. Okay, so in my opinion, the best place to start, say you got 5 points or 8 points and you want to draw an archery elk tag that you don't want to just blow your points on, that you want to have a good hunt with a chance of killing a bigger bull, I'm going to go with Unit 8. Now, with 5 points, you're not going to draw this. You're not guaranteed to draw this tag, but you're not completely out of it. There's a lot of guys who draw this tag with 5 points or less. They're in the random draw. That's the way the archery or the Arizona's bonus point system works. Okay, so you have the top bonus point getters get the top, 10%. Or top 50%, I'm sorry. They get half the tags, and the other half goes to non-residents. For this hunt, there are 25 non-resident tags. So you're looking at 12 guys, 13 guys that will get random draw. So this is not a highly sought-after archery elk tag. It used to be. In the 90s, Unit 8 was all they ever talked about. Now the trend is shifting to Unit 9, Unit 10, Unit 27, Unit 23, Unit 1, which have always been trophy units. 8 has dropped off in the trophy quality, but that doesn't mean there isn't big bulls. There are 370 bulls in Unit 8, and there always will be. So if you're in that like 5 to 15 point range, and you're on the lower end, I would start trying, and you want to try to draw a tag now, your odds are better to try to draw an 8 tag than a Unit 9 tag. So I would go 8 first choice. And if you do have that 12 bonus point range, 8's a good tag to draw. And, it's kind of like the scenario where, hey, you've got 12, 15 points. You can draw it again in another 12 to 15 years. Whereas, Unit 9 or Unit 10, it literally will take you 20 points to draw that tag. So that's not a tag you'll want to hunt, or that you can actually kind of plan on hunting again. So Unit 8 would be my first choice in that mid-range point section. I'm looking at it right now. And for the second choice, this is kind of same kind of category. So I would go, obviously, disclaimer, I'm not the all-knowing archery elk guy. There's a lot of good archery elk hunters, a lot of good outfitters, and there's a lot of good Arizona outfitters too that guide in all these areas that I'm talking about, not just me. But I personally, if it was my tag, and I had that kind of that, 10 to 15 point type deal, I would have to go probably either, it's going to be a two part deal here. I would probably have to go with 6B as my first choice, and or 5A, 5B. So we did 5A, 5B last week. This is a place where you want to put the harder to draw unit, which would be unit 8 in this example. And then you want to put the easier, a little bit easier to draw, at least it was last couple years, a little bit easier to draw stuff, the second choice, because if you happen to get one of your first choices high up, and you're high up in the draw number, then you'll get your first choice. If that's taken, then it'll go to your second choice. I hope that made sense. But yeah, basically, guys, 6B and 5A or 5B and really 5B. So what I would do is I would strongly suggest looking at a 5B and 6B. Now, what I didn't talk about is 8. 8 is a tag that is very diverse. So in Unit 8, you go from desert, grassland, cactus, all the way to 8,000 feet pine trees. Okay, so you can hunt, and the bulls are everywhere. A lot of people like to stay up in the pines because it's really pretty. There's lots of cows, and it's relatively easy to hunt, walk around. You're gonna be chasing bugles, hopefully, if the weather works out, and all that stuff. On the flip side of that, 6B, so Unit 8, you can kind of hunt whatever. Terrain is kind of whatever you want to choose, or wherever the elk are at. It can be really rugged to find the big bulls in Unit 8, and that goes for any unit. When you trying to find a big bull or a big buck, you got to expect that you're going to hike a little bit farther than everybody else, or a little bit worse terrain, because they can grow older in those areas with limited human contact. 6B is a little bit of both the same. There's big canyons that come into 6B that are really steep canyons, and they're full of elk. As a bow hunter, that means a lot of work. That means that you're probably going to have to stalk into big canyons and do this kind of stuff. Now, the cows do live up in the flats as well, but with any little bit of pressure, just like everything, the cows will go off into these canyons, and that's where the best hunting will be. 5B, north and south, are very similar in the fact that they're all pines. It's all real thick pine flat. You're not going to be glassing a whole lot. So guys, if you're in that 5 to 15 point range and you're physically pretty limited, you don't think you're going to drop 3,000 feet of elevation every day, go hiking in canyons and try to shoot something with your bow, then I would play the safer route in this scenario and go 5B north or 5B south. Just knowing the terrain, and there's lots of elk there. It's the same thing, guys. You can shoot a big bull. You just have to be choosy. You have to do some scouting, do all that kind of stuff. Now, they are probably going to take away trail cameras for elk. Well, trail cameras for all hunting purposes for the assist of taking wild game. So elk hunting off water holes may be a little bit different coming up this year. I mean, you're going to have to really actually do a little scouting and see what elk are living in what areas, and you'll kind of figure out where they're watering. So this is kind of like a top 5, and as a hunter, you want to fill in your choices according to what kind of bull you're looking for, and also the terrain that you're looking to hunt in. So a lot of guys, they don't want to stop and glass. They're not going to have any help. They're solo hunters. They want to go chase bugles. They want to do it themselves, all that stuff. Great. I would not suggest you try to do that in 6B. And even, there's some other units too, for example, where you can always sit water, and it doesn't matter. It's a great way to hunt elk. It's where all the big bulls are shot, is off water. And so, regardless of that, you can always find a hot water hole and sit on it. Just better be the first one there. So my top choice is 8, Unit 8. Just a fabulous hunt in general. Great population of elk, good quality of bulls. You're still looking at that 300-inch bull, and you're going to have to work hard to get 330-plus bulls in there, but they are there. 6B, 5A north, 5B north, 5B south. So that is 4 units right there that in that 5 to 15 point range, you are not going to waste any points. You are not going to feel like waste points where you're like, man, I shouldn't have drawn that tag. You know, if you put in with 12 points 7 East, I would say you just blew those points. That is not a good hunt. But we talked about 7 East last week. If you don't have any points, you just want to play the game, that's a great place to start. Get a feel of Arizona and how it works and what the elk are doing and what the pressure's like. Speaking of pressure, archery elk hunting, the way Arizona Game and Fish has it set up in all the hunts is that they have just enough tags to where there's going to be hunting pressure. I don't care where you're at. I don't care what unit. I don't care how far you've horsebacked in anywhere. You will see some people. So expect some pressure, guys, and expect to understand that you're going to have to work with that. It's hard as a bow hunter, you know, because when you see an elk with a rifle, it's hopefully game over soon. With a bow, that's just kind of when the hunt actually begins, is when you locate a bull or you see a bull. And what makes it even tougher on an archery hunt is typically these bulls are chasing big groups of cows. And I don't know if you've seen a group of cows, but they're hard to miss. It is very easy to see a group of cows, 40 cows, walking across a meadow with 3 or 4 bulls pushing them, or one big bull and satellite bulls wandering around. So a lot of times the bigger bulls are not secrets in any of these units. A lot of times the areas that you're hunting are not secrets. There will be pressure. But guys, just like anything, you get into it what you put into it, or you get out of it what you put into it. So stay positive. And stay disciplined when you're elk hunting. The middle of the day is a great place to sit on a waterhole, not a great place to go out to camp and sleep. And some days also, you've been hunting hard for 7 days. It's time to take a shower, regroup. I've seen hunts kind of dwindle out 7, 8 days. You're busting hard. You're sweating like crazy. It's long 18-hour days. You know, sometimes, guys, the best approach is just take a day off. That way, the latter half of your hunt, you're fully rested for. So that's basically my rundown, top 5 units. I would give some honorable mentions in here. You know, the problem with some of these hunts, like Unit 22, which is a really good unit for elk, they don't give a lot of archery tags out. So what you got to look for is how many tags they actually give out. They don't give a whole lot of tags out for Unit 22. They only give 50. And some of these units, because they save them for the rifle hunt. So some of these units, they kind of juxtapose rifle hunting. You know, they do less tags for archery, more tags for rifle. So that makes them better to draw with a rifle than it would be for an archery tag. So, you know, just keep an eye on that. Just like 23 or 21, they don't give a whole lot of tags out. So that's not going to benefit you guys having that 5 to 15 point range. And I say 5 to 15 again, that it seems like a big gap, but you know, when you do have 5, 6, 8 points, it is that time where you're like, hey, I've got enough points. Let's actually try to draw a tag. So that's when we're actually going to put in. That doesn't mean you're automatically going to plan a hunt, but it does mean you are going to apply for a hunt. And that's a good place to start. Now, you can always go the top tier units as your first choice, and one of the units that I just mentioned as your second choice in case you get really lucky, which happens every year as well. Happens to my clients, happens to everybody. So those are some of the units, guys, that you're in between zone where you're not guaranteed a top tier hunt, but you are in the running to go hunt really good elk, have a really good elk hunt in the rut in Arizona. And these aren't the only units, but guys, these are good units to start with. Good units to maybe research on your own and just see what they look like and see the elk population. So other than that, like I said before too, there are other really good guides that are archery elk guides out there, not just Arizona Trophy Outfitters. We also do drop camp hunts in there too. So if you're a DIY guy, we'll drop you somewhere in where these big bulls are that we're not guiding anybody in. Typically, if we're doing drop camps, we don't have clients in the units that we're drop camping. In other words, our clients drew certain units, and we have guys that want to go hunt in other units, and we will drop you in there. In the spots that we would, if we did have clients, we would put you where we usually would have clients. I don't like to have clients and drop camp hunters in the same unit, in the same area. That kind of, it's ulterior motives, and I don't want any conflict that way. So just a little rundown. Hit me up in the comments below if you have any other questions. It's just a place to start, guys. It's just to have an idea. But I've been doing this draw for 30 years, and I have drawn a couple elk tags, and I see elk, and I'm not in every single unit every year, but I have buddies, other guide outfitter buddies all over the state. And every year they give me the kind of the rundown. Hey, how was it in 8 this year? Oh, it was crazy hot. Elk weren't talking. Or, man, it was just crazy rutting in 5B North this year. So if you do draw one of these tags, hit me up too. I will point you in the right direction. If I don't have a guide for you, if we can't guide you, I can point you to another Arizona guide that is really good, that I trust, and that does a great job with clients, because I am not the only one that takes care of non-resident archery elk hunters and resident elk hunters in this state. So you want to be careful of a few guys, but for the most part, Arizona outfitters are hardcore dudes that have hunted these elk on public land. All these elk are on public land their whole life. So just hit me up if you have any questions, or if you want to if you have somebody that you are guiding you, or that you've talked to, and you just maybe want another some advice or whatever. If he's telling you something that I am, might conflict with somebody else, I'll give you a straight shot, guys. It's kind of how I like to do things. All right, so hit me up. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to be doing more videos. I've got some videos coming up that some sleeper elk hunts in Arizona, and some limited opportunity elk hunts in Arizona, and the top tier archery elk hunts in Arizona. I will be coming out with a lot of videos, just going over, hopefully it is all understandable, and I am showing you the actual regulations, so you can look at what I'm talking about. All right, guys, have a good day, night, stay safe, and we'll talk at you later.